Anyone with a passing interest in horoscopes can tell you that there are 12 zodiac constellations, that the year is evenly divided between them, and that your sun sign is determined by which constellation the sun is in on the day that you were born. Except, none of those are quite true. In today's episode, some messy history of the zodiac that didn't make it into the last video. The constellations have been around for so long that it's easy to forget that they're as arbitrary as seeing pictures in the clouds. People can draw them however they want. These stars could look like this, or like this, or like this. Some people thought that this group of stars looked like a set of scales or balance and called it Libra. Others combined it with nearby Scorpio and gave him a set of claws, which I think he very much deserves. Libra accepted. The people of the ancient Mediterranean saw the zodiac constellations mostly as animals. In fact, and I love this, our word zodiac comes from the ancient Greek word zodion, which means little animals. It's related to our English word zoo. So it's kind of actually a zodiac. And I just think that's awesome. As I talked about in my last video, the zodiac was invented as a set of reference points to track the movements of the sun and moon and planets across the sky. But watch what happens if you follow this planet through the constellations. Virgo, Libra, Scorpio. Wait. Ophiuchus? Ophiuchus? How do you even say that? That's not on the list! Did I just discover a 13th zodiac constellation? Of course, the fact that planets go through Ophiuchus is not a new discovery. Ancient astronomers watched planets go through it all the time. But a 13th constellation was hella inconvenient. As the zodiac was developing, there were different numbers of constellations depending on who drew them. But a weird number of constellations, like 13, was inconvenient. It didn't match up with the lunar calendar, it made the math hard. So in the modern zodiac, Ophiuchus gets divided between Scorpio and Sagittarius. And those weren't the only tweaks made. The zodiac constellations are all different sizes. This is not good for marking regular distances along the celestial highway. So ancient astronomers stretched the boundaries of some and compressed the boundaries of others until the 360-degree ring around the sky that is the zodiac was divided into 12 tidy segments of exactly 30 degrees each. But even that isn't the weirdest tweak. Consider your sun sign. My wife, for example, was born on April 4th, which makes her an Aries. We can demonstrate this by simply checking where the sun is on her actual birthday. And as predicted, we find that nope. No, that is definitely Pisces. What gives? Thousands of years ago, when people were actually constructing the zodiac, the sun would appear in Aries in early spring. But over time, and so slowly that it took people centuries to notice, the sun's position against the backdrop of stars over the year changed. And they were confronted with a choice. Keep the zodiac system hitched to the seasons or to the stars? This wasn't an urgent question. It takes the sun about 26,000 years to drift through the zodiac. But in Western astrology, people eventually decided to go with the seasons. This means that over time, the zodiac signs have become more and more disconnected from the zodiac constellations. So you could say that my wife is actually a Pisces. And I, instead of being a Sagittarius like I'm supposed to be, am actually an Ophiuchian. If you're curious to know your actual sun sign, I'll leave a link in the doobly-doo. It was a delight to learn about all of these astronomical side quests while I was researching my last video. And here's one more. I thought that the ancient Mesopotamians had actually invented much of modern astronomy because they were trying to cast horoscopes. But even that wasn't true. To be sure, the Mesopotamians were trying to predict the future, but they weren't casting horoscopes. They were looking for omens. For them, astrology was about how something that happened in the sky was a sign about something that was going to happen here on Earth. Instead of clay tablets with horoscopes, most of their astrological writings consist of things kind of like, if there's a lunar eclipse during the evening watch, then the city is going to have a plague. Horoscopes, where people use the positions of the sun and the moon and the planets on the day or even the moment of your birth to determine your personality or your future. Those didn't become common until the heyday of Greek culture in Alexandria, some 5 or 6 centuries after the zodiac had reached its current form. All of this, I think, points to just how much the zodiac is a human construction as much as it is an observation. It's certainly an objective thing that the sun and the moon and the planets from Earth all appear to travel across this same narrow band in the sky. But what we did to make sense of that pattern was messy and evolving and subjective and human. In some ways, the sky was like an inkblot test. What was there didn't change. What changed is the way we saw it.